Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Xing Gan, Financial Market Strategist Consultant to Exness, and this is your market outlook for the 15th of April 2025. So for today, we will be covering technical analysis on gold. We will take a look at it across different time frames. I'm currently on the Exness web terminal, so if you take a look at it on the weekly time frame, you can see that following that rebound from the EMA 21 back in November 2024, price has formed a strong rally to the upside, right? And part of it also supported by this lingering trade uncertainties that we're seeing, right, following Trump's tariffs. Right, if you take a look at it on the weekly time frame, you can see that price has rebounded above this resistance turn support level. It also aligns with this bullish fair value gap that we're seeing on the weekly time frame. So it's basically the gap between the wicks of the first and third candle, looking at these three candles. So if you take a look at this, you can see that following that rebound to the upside, right, we're seeing the pause in that rally. And if you're on the lower time frames, you can see that prices are consolidating around this region. Right, so if you move down to the daily time frame, on the daily what we have currently, you can see that gold has also broken out of the ascending channel, I believe. Right, so if I were to just shrink this slightly, right, if you take a look at it further back, right, back to the weekly, you can see that this area over here, so this is the region that we have. So you can see that price has broken above that ascending channel. Right, so you can see this area, right? So price has tested the upper bound of the ascending channel, and then following that we saw a right break above this upper bound, right? So that's on the weekly time frame, so we could see a potential pullback in towards this breakout zone of the ascending channel, which could also be retested as a support. Right, so if we move down to the 1 hour 4 hours time frame, what we have currently is that you can see that prices are just consolidating near its record highs. We are still seeing price holding above this bullish EMA, suggesting that the uptrend persists. We are also seeing higher highs, right? So if you take a look at the swing points, you can see that this is the last high that we had. Price broke to the upside. So we're just seeing formation of higher lows and higher highs. So this could serve as the first potential support level. There was also a previous resistance turn support zone. You can see this region over here. Right, so about the 3.3150 region, this area, which aligns with the previous resistance we saw right before the move to the downside. We saw price broke above it, right? So if we do see a potential retracement, this could be a first area of support, right? On the 4 hours time frame. The second level of support that we could have, it's this region over here. You can see how price interacted with this area as both a resistance and support zone. We saw how price tested this region as a resistance and then again as a support before price failed it eventually, and even before the move to the upside, we're seeing that retest of this again, which also aligns with this lower time frame fair value gap here, right? So this region as the next potential support, right? So if price continues its uptrend, let's take a look at potential region or areas of resistance that we could project, right? So one is identifying the zigzag pattern using Fibonacci extension to find if there are any potential resistance that price could be pushing into. And this is the zigzag pattern that we have identified. You can see that just by using the turning points of the zigzag pattern, we can project if there are any potential extensions. So with the turning points, right, you can see that the general extension levels that I use would be the 78.6% as well as the 61.8%. Both of it were broken, right? It's interesting to note that the 61.8% aligns with that swing high over here. So previously we mentioned the 3,150 level, which is also that resistance turn support zone. And currently prices are just chopping around the 78.6%. And beyond that, right, we have the 100% Fibonacci extension. So the 100% Fibonacci extension essentially means that the rally that we observed back in February 2025 all the way to April, early April, right, if we were to project the extent of the rally from the lows that we have on 7 April, the 100% extension would give us a level at about the 3,300 zone. So this is the first potential resistance that we could see price push into. Right, again, it's more of a specific zone rather than just a level. Right, so beyond that, the 127.2% Fibonacci extension will also be another area to consider. Right, so beyond the 3,300 level, the 127.2% Fibonacci extension would be at about the 3,380 region. So these are the two potential resistance that I'm looking at, right? Of course, when price pushes into this resistance area, it doesn't mean that we could see potential reversal, keeping in mind that the uptrend is still intact, right? We're still seeing that higher swings, as I've mentioned earlier. So when price starts pushing into this zone, what I want to observe is if there's any interaction, any kind of sweep of liquidity before we see a potential retracement. So these are the key levels, right? Let me just remove this colored zones that we have here. So the first support level that we have would be at about 3,150, and then beyond that, the 3,000 level. This would be 3,050 level. Right, so you can see that this zone which price interacted as a support and resistance level multiple times. It's also interesting to note that we have this short-term ascending trend line that prices are holding. So this ascending trend line comes from this area here. We saw how price tested this region, and if I were to just extend it slightly further, you can see that this was actually an ascending trend line that comes from December, right? So if price does retrace deeper towards this zone, right, this is also another region to watch, which is the second support level at about the 3,050 zone, right? So beyond that, if we do see a break to the downside below that 3,000 psychological support over here, also below the swing low, then this could signal a potential shift in momentum and also shift in trend, right? So we could see potential for a deeper retracement if we're seeing a break of this ascending trend line as well as 3,000 level. But now that we have all this uncertainty that's around, our fundamental seems to support a more bullish trend for gold, right? So right now we're just observing how price interact between this support and resistance zones. If we're seeing that break above the 3,280 region, this area over here, 3,300 resistance level, then we could see potential for further upside towards the 3,380 level. Right, if we do see a retracement and a break below the last support level, which also aligns with this EMA 21, then we could see potential for a deeper retracement towards the 3,050 level. So that's on gold. Right, the next one that I would like to take a look at would be on dollar index. So if you take a look at dollar index, you can see that dollar index has been on a very strong downtrend, right, especially with the most recent concerns around the credibility of US assets and also the sell-off in treasury. So we're seeing the dip in the dollar index, right? If you take a look at it on the daily time frame on dollar index, we have this descending channel that price broke below this zone. It also broke below the low that we observed on in September 2024. You can see that this became a potential resistance turn support zone. So following the breakout of this descending channel and also a potential retest of this 99.80 region, so this is the 120 resistance, you can see that prices are currently hovering around the 99.80 region, right? So this area of consolidation. Of course, we also have that psychological support, right, slightly lower, this area here. So this is about the 99 region. And so you can see that this is a relatively narrow range that prices are trading within, right, as it assesses the impact of Trump's tariffs and also potential news that's coming out from this, right? So all the developments surrounding this tariffs. So if you take a look at it on just from a technical perspective, on the 4 hours time frame, we're seeing that area of consolidation, but the downtrend persists. We're still seeing that lower lows and lower highs being formed. If you take a look at it in terms of EMAs, you can see that in terms of EMAs, the widening gap between the EMAs could also indicate the potential of its bearish momentum that we're seeing here. Prices are currently pulling back. It's testing this 99.80 resistance, right? So if we do see a break to the upside, we could see a potential written within that descending channel, and also a retest of this resistance turn support zone. You can see that this area would coincide with the previous swing low before price failed, eventually retested again as a resistance, also aligned with the EMAs before move to the downside. So this is about the 103 region, this area over here. Again, it's more of a zone than a specific level, right? So this area, right? So this is the second resistance if price does close above this range that we're looking at. And of course, we can also use the same Fibonacci extension concept that we observed earlier on gold, right? So basically take a look at the zigzag pattern. So if we want to take a look at the zigzag pattern, you can see that this would be the most immediate zigzag pattern that we have, and try to project if there are any Fibonacci extensions here, right? So taking the turning points of the zigzag pattern, you can see that the 127.2% Fibonacci extension, it's currently being tested. This is the area that aligns with that 99 support level that we've highlighted earlier on the daily time frame, right? And of course, beyond that, we would have the 161.8 Fibonacci extension, slightly lower at about the 98 support region. So these are the two potential support, right? If we see the 99 support area break, we could see potential for a steeper decline towards the 161.8% Fibonacci extension at the 98 region. So this is the outlook on dollar index, right? So on gold and dollar index, right, it's interesting to note that part of the reason for dollars, or rather the dollar's bearishness, right, it's also because the dollar's weak, right, it's also prompting more safe haven flow into gold. So that has also propped up prices, right? So with that, we have come to the end of that this market's outlook for today, right? So thanks everyone, and we will catch you guys again soon.